do fill in the new guys that this is actually a touchscreen.
I think they probably know.
Oh.
No offense.
You never know. There's a few bright ones out there still.
Everyone else knew.
I was just getting ready to talk. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m.
Chelsea Leppelman? Yes. Kenna Johnson? Yes. Rusty Wooling?
Yes.
Tracy Miller? Yes. Carlos Burton? Jason Nolan?
Yes.
Dale Schramm?
Yes. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening and special called meeting for the seating of the new board members, and those of you who are streaming, welcome as well. I think this is going to be short and sweet as far as my part goes, but anyway, we'd like to move forward to the recognition of the outgoing board members.
So I will say, we wanted to make sure that we did another thank you for Carlos Burton, who's not able to be here tonight, and Chelsea Leffelman, and to Dale Schneeman. The three of you have served us well. I will say that as a new superintendent a few years ago, you guys have spoiled me by collectively, and the three of you specifically, being a very wonderful board to work with. I appreciate the fact that you've shared your opinions with us as a board. You've been able to work through a lot of tough times through COVID and making very tough decisions about how we were going to educate kids in a brand new world when we didn't know what to expect coming from IDPH and the local health department. And you've done all with keeping the kids at the forefront of your mind. So thank you for the time, the effort, and all the energies that you've given to us and to the students that you represent. So thank you.
We're excited to see where the new board members come on board and help take the district to new levels of excellence. We have no new business except for the April election results, which you've seen in your packets, but you can repeat those.
Do you want me to
Yep.
talk about those? Okay. So we have to have compiled votes from our three counties. We are waiting for Piatt County. So from DeWitt, Piatt, and McLean County, we had a total of 518 votes for David Sig-Enger. The next top voter was for Rusty Wooling with 327 votes from the three counties, and next, Jonathan Yeagle coming in with 308 votes for the three counties. So out of the 2,059 votes, those were our top three candidates of the 8 that ran for our 3 open 4-year positions. And again, nobody ran for the 2-year position, so we will be appointing that position. And the new seated board of 6 will be making that decision later tonight about how to move forward.
All right. So we're moving to the point of the oath of office and the seating of the new board members. And I'm not sure, do all the new board members have the oath with you and not a copy? Okay. Our secretary is bringing you one. It is. We expect you to memorize this. If you'd stand with me. Please repeat after me, the new elected school board members. I, your name, do solemnly swear they will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Blue Ridge Community Unit School District 18. In accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois, to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayers' interest by serving as faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board. While respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting. I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district. I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community. Formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Blue Ridge. I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children. And in compliance with the state law. I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community school to advance the vision for Blue Ridge. I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created. Fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. All right, thank you. Inasmuch as there is no further business to come before this board, a motion for adjournment sine die is needed. I so move. Chelsea. To adjourn the meeting sine die at, what time is it? 6:38.
Chelsea Leppelman? Yes. Kenneth Johnson? Yes. Francie Miller? Yes. Carlos Burton? Jason Nolan? Yes. Rusty Wong? Yes. Dale Schneeman?
Yes, all right. So the old board members can find a new seat and turn it over to the appointment for President Pro Tem. New board members can come forward. Find you a chair.
Okay. So welcome. We are currently a board of 6. So we are live streaming right now. And if it is your turn to say something, you'll want to have your microphone very close to your face, and you'll need to push your button until you have the green light, and that's when it's good to go. Otherwise, you'll hear a report that we can't hear you online. Okay? And that's the one that's working. There we go. All right. So we need to elect a president pro tem, and that could be anyone on the board, or that could be me as superintendent. So how would we like to move forward? I'm happy to do that for us if we'd like. Okay? Is that okay? All right. So we just need to do a verbal approval. Is that okay with me, with everybody, if I do the president pro tem? Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:40 p.m. Thank you. Okay, so nominations are now in order for the office of president. So any board member can nominate another one for the office of president.
I would like to nominate Francie Miller as president.
Francie has been nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of president?
I'd like to nominate Jason Nolan.
Okay, Jason Nolan has been nominated for the office of president. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Okay, so now we proceed with a show of hands to choose the president, and the member receiving the majority of votes cast is elected. And there's a procedure if we have a tie, so here we go. So all in favor of Francie Miller for the office of president, please raise your hand. And all in favor of Jason for president. And so I would report that the vote is 5-1 in favor of Francie. By receiving the majority of the votes cast, Francie Miller is elected president of this Board of Education. Congratulations, Francie. And that means we turn the meeting over to you. Let me get you to the right page.
Let's start again. Nominations are now in order for the office of vice president. Any member of the board may nominate any other member. Nominations do not require a second, and self-nominations may also be accepted and do not require a second. Are there any nominations for the office of vice president?
I'll nominate Jason Nolan.
Okay. Jason Nolan is nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of vice president? I will nominate Kenna Dunlap Johnson. Okay, hold on. Okay, a vote by, we have Jason Nolan and Kenna Dunlap Johnson have been nominated. Are there any further nominations? Okay, a vote by a show of hands is necessary. All in favor of Jason Nolan for the office of vice president, please raise your hand. All in favor of Kenna Dunlap Johnson for the office of vice president, please raise their hand. So it was 4-2, right? Sorry. Sorry, I do have a small learning curve on this paper. I follow along a lot better here. So the vote, by a vote of 4-2 in favor of Kenna Dunlap Johnson, Kenna Dunlap Johnson is elected Vice President of this Board of Education. Congratulations, Kenna. Okay, nominations are now in order for the office of Secretary. Do we have any nominations for the office of Secretary?
I would like to nominate Jason Nolan.
Poor Jason. Okay, Jason Nolan is nominated. Are there any other nominations for office of Secretary? Okay. Hearing no further nominations, the nominations for the office of Secretary are closed. Jason Nolan being the only candidate nominated for the office of Secretary, the board hereby declares him elected by acclamation and directs the board clerk to so record in the minutes. I'm getting this better now. Okay, we now need to move to the nominate a board member as the IASB governing board representative. Do we want to talk a little bit about that so people know what that means? I'm like, do you know what that means? I'm like, I'm guessing no. So what this person has done in the past has been more at III, where their role has come into place. III is the annual school board conference held the weekend prior to Thanksgiving in Chicago. At that time, there are different petitions that go forward from schools all over the state, and we have someone attend the session. I believe it's on Friday morning. I think so. Is when that session. It's on Friday, and they go and they represent and vote. A lot of times it's not real controversial, but sometimes there are definite votes that we will discuss ahead of time, and so then that person will just go and vote on behalf of Blue Ridge for the different resolutions that come forward. Does that make sense a little bit? So whoever would be this person would definitely want to be going to III with us.
It's a giant room filled with everybody, and you have a little clicker, and the resolutions will come up, and there's time for people to discuss as either for or against it. And at any point, somebody can say, we're done having this discussion, let's vote, and then everybody votes. And it takes some time. But it's good to be in there because you do really hear, on more controversial ones, you do hear the different opinions, especially throughout the entire state.
Okay. Do we have, I'm going to word this one a little bit different usually. Do we have anyone that would like to serve as this? It's a hard one to nominate someone else for. I mean, don't all jump up there right at once. It's super fun.
So,
Okay. Okay, so Jonathan, is anyone else interested? Crickets? Look at Sid's like, no. Okay. So I need a motion and a second to approve Jonathan Yeagle as the Blue Ridge School Board member to serve on the IASB Governing Board as presented. So moved. Kenna and Rusty?
Francie Miller,
Yes.
Jonathan Yeagle. Yes. Jason Nolan. Yes. Kenna Johnson. Yes. Sig Inger. Yes. Rusty Wong. Yes.
Okay. The next thing that we need to discuss is the appointment of board members to board committees. That's under new business. Let me. Okay. So we have 5 committees. We have the policy committee, which is reviews policy, discusses policy. The finance committee doesn't meet as often, but would be the people that meet with the auditor and get to go over that with him prior to it being also presented to the full board. The negotiations committee, which we don't really need this year. Let's all clap. Okay. The insurance committee, which is represents the board regarding the insurance provided by the district, and then the Facilities, Grounds, and Construction Committee. Do the returning or the continuing board members, I know we're on committees, do any of you have an interest in remaining on those current committees?
I'd like to stay on facilities.
And that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Okay, so Rusty and you're not going to be on that one then?
If you only need two, we've had three on it.
And you can have three, because sometimes it's important, definitely people that have experience in that, with facilities and grounds and construction. That's fine, we can have three. The more the merrier. Okay, I mean, the policy committee, Kenna? A lot of the policy committee, you don't have to meet. Hillary will send the press updates to you, so it's reading through a lot of that and maybe making recommendations to the board on that are going to come. Again, once it comes, it will all come to us, but it's mainly policy that is directed to us from the state. It's not necessarily policy that we're creating on our own for that. If the district itself was going to try to create a new district-only policy, we would be more apt to like form a small committee, or we would discuss that at the board. So it really is reading the lengthy press packets that Hillary sends. Does anyone like to do reading of policy?
100 to 200 pages sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where it's really short, and then there are times where you're like, oh my goodness, it's.
And I do my best to make notes on them, okay, or we're going to have to check with so-and-so. Sometimes I have to confer with Jeff Funk in between, and I do my best to update what all those notes are so you can see that. But I give you a couple, at least 10 to 14 days before the first reading, and then at the first reading you can ask any questions. But typically the board would kind of look to those people who are getting the advance time to read, if there's any questions, and then you get another month before we would ask for your approval. But it's a reading intensive position.
It's a lot of reading.
Fun reading.
Jonathan's like, I like to read. Jonathan, I don't want to misspell your name. How do you spell it? Obviously, with a name like Francie, spelling of names is important to me. My brother-in-law calls me Francine. So, next is the Finance Committee. It also is super fun. I've been on the Finance Committee for a long time. I'm willing to stay on that. School finance is definitely not like regular finance, so it's a learning curve in many aspects. If any new members, any continuing members would like to join me on that, that would be great. Okay. We don't have to read 200-page documents regularly, so there's the plus. Yeah. Yeah, well, but that's just once a year. That's just once a year with the audit. And you meet with the auditor, and he really breaks it down for you. So that is helpful, too, where he's like, flip to page 200, and let's focus on this. So that's helpful. I guess we can do negotiations. I mean.
Yeah, it won't be needed, but.
Right, we won't be needed for negotiations. I'll go ahead and put my name on that. We won't need that this year. Does anyone else just want to be on the negotiations committee? Again, you won't have to do anything. So I'm like, it really shouldn't be people whose spouses are represented. It would be awkward at the table. Okay. I was like, it limits us on our board a little bit. Can I? Okay. And then the last one is the insurance committee. Again, they're not super active. It's once or twice, it's a couple times a year that there's some meetings. The meetings are typically held right after school. That's really most convenient for our staff. We wouldn't do it in the evening, make them come back. If you're, and I don't know everyone's situation, so please know I'm just saying this generally, but if you're represented by this insurance, you shouldn't be the person. Like, that would probably be a little bit of a conflict on that side. But does anyone have an interest in serving on the insurance committee? Again, I don't know everyone's situation. Okay.
How often?
A couple times a year.
Maybe once or twice.
Okay, so I need a motion and a second to appoint the following board members. So I have Kenna and Jonathan to the Policy Committee, Francie and Sig to the Finance Committee, Francie, Sig, and Kenna to the Negotiations Committee, Kenna and Jason to the Insurance Committee, and then Sig, Rusty, and Jason to the Facilities, Grounds, and Construction Committee. So to appoint those following board members to the Blue Ridge Community Unit School District Number 18 board committees for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school term and the 2023-2024 school term as listed. So moved. Kenna and Rusty?
Jonathan Gable?
Yes.
Jason Nolan?
Yes.
Kenna Johnson?
Yes.
Sig Ingram?
Yes.
Rusty Vaughn?
Yes.
Francine Miller?
Yes. Okay, next we have a discussion of the Board of Education meeting dates, 2022-2023 and 2023-2024 school term.
So this is just to show you what we have for the remainder of the school year. Let's see, we have May 10 coming up. We always have an early May board meeting and an early August board meeting, and that's because of the timing of the budget, needing to have 30 days lead time before the budget is approved in September, and then also the possibility each spring of an amended budget. So we just adjust our board meetings in those 2 months accordingly. And so you can see the finish of this school year, May 10, 2023 and June 21 of 2023. And then last month, we just approved the calendar for 23-24. So that's in your board book in front of you. And we can get you copies of that when we meet as well.
Okay, so I guess I need a motion and a second to hold regular meetings of the Blue Ridge Community Unit School District Number 18 Board of Education on the third Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m., with the exception of August 2023 and May 2024, in which the meetings will be held the second Wednesday of the month. The regular meetings will be held in the Blue Ridge High School Library in Farmer City, Illinois, as presented. Jonathan. And who was down there?
Jason.
Jason? Okay.
Jason Nolan?
Yes.
Sig Ingram?
Yes.
Kenna Johnson? Yes. Jonathan Gable?
Yes.
Rusty Vaughn?
Yes.
Francine Miller?
Yes, sorry. Okay, next we have the summer school hiring error to discuss.
Yes, so last month we had, on April 2023, we had Tracy Parsons' name read in our action script rather than Melissa Ward. But in your packet, we had Melissa Ward's letter of interest for summer school. We had Ryan Payton's hiring recommendation for Melissa Ward, but we had Tracy Parsons' name in the script for the action item. So we would like to correct that for our records and ask you to have a motion to hire Melissa Ward rather than Tracy Parson for the summer school position for kindergarten.
Okay. So I need a motion and a second to correct the clerical error made in April by hiring Melissa Ward as the kindergarten summer school teacher rather than Tracy Parson, who was hired in error.
Motion.
Rusty? Was that it? Okay.
Sig.
Sig Ingram? Jonathan Gable?
Yes.
Kenna Johnson? Yes. Jason Nolan?
Yes.
Rusty Vaughn?
Yes.
Francine Miller?
Yes. Okay. And now go to the cause. Good, just a brief little thing. We do a good of the cause. We added this to our agendas several years ago, and it's just things to discuss that we think would be, good that maybe for the board to discuss. Sometimes it's upcoming events or just different things that may be input on. So tonight we have, the first thing is to discuss the interviews for the appointment of the 7th Board of Education member.
So with needing to interview for person number 7, we had 5 candidates who were not our top vote getters. What we do know is that if we put an all-call out there on our social media, on our website, and our Blue Ridge app, we also want to do so in the newspaper. If we put something out to the newspaper as early as tomorrow morning, that will not be seen until Friday, so we have to keep that in our consideration. So my recommendation is that we consider, if we're able to, that we would interview candidates on Monday, May 8th. One of the reasons why I want to move rather quickly is to try to save your time. If we interview on May 8th, there's a potential that we would be able to seat a 7th board member at our May 10th meeting on that Wednesday. If not, we would need to schedule another special board meeting because we have 45 days from this meeting to seat that 7th person, and that 45-day clock will run out before our scheduled June meeting. So I guess the first question would be, would we have availability to run interviews on Monday, May 8th?
As of right now, I'm unavailable on the 8th.
Okay. Rusty's a yes? Sig? We're looking at between 6 o'clock and, depending on how many people we get, what we've done in the past is we've had 20-minute interview slots. We typically do 3 in a row, then take a 5-minute break, do another 3, depends on how many people we would get. Mm-hmm. Yep. We would start with a 15-minute interview prep so we know what our routine is. Okay. Francie, what about availability for you?
I can.
Ken? Okay.
Yes.
Ken, are you traveling?
I am traveling that day, but could be available remotely
Okay.
if that's an option.
Okay. Traveling is a way that you are able to attend remotely this would be a call to board meeting because we would have enough people present that we would need to post it and call it that. So that would be a justifiable reason that we could do that if you would be available at that time frame, 6 p.m. for a little bit. Okay. Jonathan, what about for you? You are available? Okay. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Yeah, we could at least move forward with that.
Okay. So if we would start at 6 o'clock, we would do interview prep at that time. We do have some questions that are following the board packet, and we could make some copies of these and get them out to you in an email. That way you can see them if you've not been attached to the board book yet. And we can take a few minutes to collectively get ready for that interview process. And like we said, we'll try to we'll have people call into the unit office. We'll try to stack those interviews as close as we can to each other so they're not spread apart 6 o'clock and 8:45.
Yeah.
We'll see how many candidates we get, and then we can have a debrief time at the end and hopefully bring a candidate to that May 10th meeting. That sound okay to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see, good of the cause, second piece was, we had Press 111. That's how our policies are issued to us from Press Plus. They come in packets that are numbered. So policy set 111 was read for the first time in April. Nothing very controversial in there. So I guess, Kenna, maybe the question would be to you and Jonathan as the new policy committee. I can get that packet out to you. We could decide, I'll go ahead and put it in the May 10th board meeting, and we can decide as a group or as the policy committee if you want to take action on May 10th with that policy with Press 111, or if you would prefer to have another month to read through that, because that's an awful lot of stuff to get through. Okay. Okay. And you've had a month to look already, and like I said, it's not a very heavy new decision-making press issue, okay? And then the Facilities Committee, so I think we're looking over on this side for Facilities Committee. We've already scheduled a May 10th, 6 p.m., so that's the same night as the board meeting, already scheduled a 6 o'clock meeting. We've just recently, state board approved our 10-year health life safety survey. That's for all 3 of our buildings, so we have 10 years worth of projects that we have scheduled in front of us, and we'll be going out for health life safety bonds pretty soon, so we can start financing the projects that need to be done, which would include roofing and some window projects and a lot of other smaller things as well. So a lot of things and planning in front of us, and so we'll start talking with Doug Berkman, O&M supervisor, about some of the immediate things that are on the list and kind of what's in line for the next 2 or 3 years. some bigger projects, because those have to go out for bids, and all of that takes some timing and finagling, as you all well know. So we'll kind of introduce that to you and see what your thoughts are about that as we go through the planning process. Does that work? That time frame work for you, Sig? Okay, and then we do that in the unit conference room down there. We have our own little meeting, then we come in here, and then we'll report out to everybody else. Okay? All right? Sound good to everybody? Okay.
It's not really on here, but I know that we're meeting with like the new board members. You'll do like your orientation and stuff, but does anyone have any questions? Just like how the meeting runs, or just generally, I mean.
I have one question. I was, when I was doing the IS State Board of Education welcome new board members thing that they put out there, they talked about educational materials, and I understand we can't take those tests until after, well, I guess I take it now because I've been seated, but all the books, do I just purchase those books, or does the school purchase them? Because I heard different things on there, and they said check with your school board.
Right. So I think you are Friday for your orientation, right? So we'll talk about some of that. Christy will help you get signed up with IASB, that's the Illinois Association of School Boards. We'll cover your cost of your training bundle. There's a lot of things that you get to watch and tests that you get to take, and then we can talk about what other reading materials you might want to purchase through them. And then Jonathan, I think we're scheduled for Monday morning. We'll do the same routine for you and get you signed up for those bundles. All of that training has to be done within a certain time frame. And then we'll double check on, I think Rusty, going from appointed to elected, I think you get the same, you don't get the orientation again from me, but you get the same requirement.
You do.
Yeah, you do. You don't have to, you don't have to do orientation with me. That'll save you 3 hours, but you still have to do all your other things. So that was a yes, yay. So for the new members, it's pretty typical. It's typical that you'll get a Friday afternoon email, weekly update from me. So you know to expect that. You'll be attached to the BOE, the board email for the district. So you come as a group. You don't get an individual email, but you get a group email, and I'm attached to that as well. So you see something from me every Friday afternoon, kind of telling you about things that have happened in the district. And then if I ever ask you to reply, I'll remind you to reply just to me only. If there's a big thing that happens that you need to know about before that, I'll typically send you a text to tell you to go to your email, because it's not normal for me to email you during the week. It's normal for me to email you only at the end of the week. When it's time for a board meeting, Christy will send out the board book. That's what you're looking at online right there. She'll send that out to you the Friday before the board meeting. That way you have time over the weekend to read. When it's 600 pages, it probably means that we've missed a lot of blank pages on a FOIA request through Excel. And we're going to do better not to send you 200 blank pages, but it could easily be 300 or 400 pages. So we try to give you a weekend and a couple extra days to read through. And then if you have questions, you're always welcome to ask those. The earlier the better, so I can get back to you. So those are some of the basics.
Does that make sense? Do you guys have any other questions tonight that we can? Okay. I was like, it just seemed like a good time to be like, do you have any questions or thoughts? Or, and you'll learn a lot more about, I'm just going to say this, I'm like an OMA person in life, which is the Open Meetings Act, if you don't know what it is. But that's why we don't hit reply all. We're a public board, and unless we meet the certain requirements of OMA that allow us to discuss something in closed session, we discuss it in open session, and email is not open to the public, so we don't discuss anything on email. We can reply individually to the superintendent, or you can even reply like individually if like for some reason I had to send something out as board president to everyone, and I would say, hey, let me know what you think on this, or something, which is very rare. It would always be a just reply just to the sender. We would never do a reply all, just because it's a violation of OMA, and we don't want to violate that if we can absolutely avoid that. So, again, I'm a huge person. I do that in my real job, so that's what I do at the University of Illinois. So, yeah, you'll get to do the training, I believe. Typically, one person on the board has to do it every year. I do it anyways because of my job, so I do it typically, but you'll definitely for the first year, you'll want to do it. It will teach you a lot. The training's pretty interesting if you've never done it. So have you done it before? Yeah, previously on the mental health board. Okay, so you might have done it there. Yeah. So it's helpful just to know they change a lot of stuff all the time with COVID and all that fun stuff. So yeah.
And Francie mentioned earlier, they call it the Triple I Conference. That's IASB, so the school board, IASA, school administrator, and IASBO, the school business official. All three of those come together and put on a conference weekend before Thanksgiving up in Chicago. It's a very nice conference, a lot of different things that you can pick to learn about, and it's a good time to get to know your fellow board members, and just a good learning experience. But if you want to put that on your calendar, and you'll get to go to your delegate session for that. Yeah, but it's a good opportunity. I think that's it.
Okay. Yep. Rusty, the impatient one. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:10 p.m. I was going to say, if he doesn't get it, I was going to be shocked. Roll call vote. Oh, Rusty and Sig.